Ahoy there, crew! This is your captain speaking, and today I'm designing the main characters for a story I've had in my mind for a very long time. There's really not much to say about it, so without further ado, let's get to drawing. This first character's name is Aster. She has the role of the Chosen One. She must fulfill a prophecy for her people. I won't get into the details of it though, since I want to keep it a surprise. Just know that there are some enormous expectations and responsibilities placed on her shoulders. I took a very long time to get to this point with Aster. I was never sure what I wanted for her personality-wise, so it was always hard to decide what she should look like. But about a week ago, it just came to me and I doodled a little headshot in my sketchbook, and I just knew this is my Aster. Aster's outfit is based on a few traditional Greek clothing pieces. Her people, the Harpies, worship in a way I think old world gods were worshipped. Their relationship with their god is transactional, but don't get me wrong, they're still quite loyal. A little too loyal, I'd say. One detail of their goddess I will mention is that she's known for hating and killing humans. You see, in this world, Harpies used to be killed for the medicinal value of their feathers. There is a myth among humans that if you consume these feathers, your lifespan will be extended. Some versions even state that a human could gain immortality from it. To escape the dangers of humanity, they've been living on a hidden island alongside a community of mermaids, who are in a similar boat due to their scales, but I won't get into that today. Aster is seen and treated as an in-between for them and their god, sort of like a priestess. So she is often the one receiving offerings and tending to the altars. Because of her role, most people keep their distance. They're nice, but don't get too close since she is very important. Of course, Aster goes out of her way to help any of the other Harpies, often to the point of neglecting herself. This is how she was taught and raised. She must always give and never take. Her caretakers were very restrictive when raising her. As a child, she was never allowed to play, only to study the scrolls and what her future duties entail as the Chosen One. Even during gatherings and festivals, she was not allowed to even dance. She must keep herself quiet and ladylike, until the day comes when she must fulfill the prophecy. So she spent most of her life just watching others, so I think she'd be good at reading them to an extent. So when she finds herself on the mainland due to, let's say, unforeseen circumstances, she gets a little unhinged and her personality does a bit of a 180. She becomes more loud and mostly unfiltered, saying most things that come to mind. She tends to come off as mean and childish because of this. Even then, she will still go out of her way to help others in need. And that is about all I can share without getting too spoilery. I am impressed with how Aster turned out. She is gorgeous. I'm so glad to finally have a face that I like to put to the name. Now, I hate to do this, but Titan needs another redesign for this. She doesn't quite visually match with Aster as much as I would like her to. Titan wasn't originally part of the story, but as I developed her backstory, I came to see that hers would mesh really well with Aster's story. Aster's companion was supposed to be a desperate knight in search of riches on the isolated island, but I never really felt attached to him, so it was only right to scrap him. Titan was raised as a princess on the mainland. Everyone was pretty strict with her too, especially since she is the king's eldest child and thus the heir to the throne. She was properly trained in both combat and manners. At least she was still given some freedom to roam and enjoy herself, unlike Aster. People also kept their distance with Titan though. She is high-ranking, but she also wore a veil to hide her face. This is something all the women related to the Emperor are expected to do. The veils tend to make them more intimidating because it's harder to read their expressions. After turning 21, Titan was summoned by the Emperor himself. He had a simple and important task for her. She has to pretend to be the goddess that they worship for essentially the rest of her life, which is something women related to the Emperor have done for 1,000 years. The only ones who ever knew about this were these women and the Emperor himself. Of course, she saw this as blasphemous, which it clearly is. She was told to revere the goddess, but now to essentially betray her too. They got into an argument which ended with Titan fleeing after she gave the emperor quite a devastating wound. Titan would then disappear from the palace and go on her own little journey. Free from her responsibilities as an heir, she doesn't really change like Aster does, but she is open to it. She does still remain quite cold and strict though. Now before I go on, let's talk a bit about their goddess. After the mainland was devastated by a terrifying fire, she blessed their people. She gave the emperor total immortality as a gift so that he may rebuild the mainland. So he can't die from age, sickness, injury, or anything unless the blessing is reversed. This does mean that he suffers quite a bit though, so after a certain point he's always holed up in his room. It does benefit his descendants though, because they get a part of that gift. They tend to live longer and are more durable than normal humans. They are also the only ones that he appoints as kings and queens of the different regions of the mainland. Because of their goddess's gift in their time of need and her being a harpy, they represent her with a flaming feather. I tried my best to repeat that theme throughout Titan's design. I know it ended up looking like a leaf and not a feather, but let's just go with it. I believe all the Emperor's descendants would wear at least one accessory with the symbol. I definitely say it's a family crest of sorts. Now to get into how these two actually cross paths. This gets into some spoiler territory, so I'll try to be vague but not too much. Titan saves Aster from being sold off by a merchant and decides that she should guide her home. It would be dangerous for Harpy feathers to start circulating the mainland, especially since the Emperor would surely want to get hold of them after his injury. It might even alleviate his other pains and aches too. Aster is reluctant to join Titan. She left the island willingly, but quickly realized that it's not better for her on the mainland as she had thought. Together, they set out to find the hidden island that the Harpies and mermaids are hiding at. Unfortunately, I don't think Aster would remember the directions, so they would be all over the place. I wanted Titan to be visually distinct but still match Aster. They both share their warm tones, but they're still different. Aster's is much brighter, which I think matches her louder personality shift wonderfully. Titan's clothing is also more inspired by a combination of traditional Chinese clothing, as I think the entire region would be. Here is Titan though, she's gorgeous as always, but I want to mention that I changed her eye color to red. It makes her a little intimidating, but I do like it. They really draw me in. But that's all for today, crew. Be sure to like and subscribe so I can see you again for our next voyage. Bye bye!